You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
Ajinkya Rahane and his team India have pulled off a major turnaround after the humbling in the series opener to win the Boxing Day test by 8 wickets. The series is now level at 1-1. My guest Ayaz Memon is with us. Ayaz, it really was an impressive, dominating performance by the Indian team at the MCG, especially considering the horrors of the last match, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think one has to see this match in the context of what happened at Adelaide. You lose that match by 8 wickets, that's fine. It's happened often enough in this game. But to be bowled out for 36, the lowest ever score in India's test history, was absolutely ignominious and humiliating. And to come from that situation into winning the next test match by the same margin. India have won this match by 8 wickets. And remember, they were without two of their best players, Virat Kohli and Mohammad Shami. So the odds were completely stacked against Ajinkya Rahane, the captain, and his team. And I thought in that context, to perform the way that they did is, the only word I can come up with is spectacular. This is a redemption song sung by, composed, I think, by Ajinkya Rahane as captain and batsman. He's had a fantastic match in both roles, and he's put himself back on the map of Indian cricket with such huge impact, because he's been below the radar for so long, and almost as if he has become a has-been in Indian cricket, and he's shown his mettle as somebody who thinks very, very well about cricket as in the leadership position, and as well as a batsman. He's taken up that responsibility, the onus. It was not easy for India to win this match, because when he came into bat, it was still uncertain where this match would be headed. But he stamped his authority with 100. I think this is the best 100 he's made. And then he, got the best out of his bowlers. Look at the bowling performances of Bumrah, of Ashwin, of Jadeja, and then of course of Mohammad Siraj, and then the two debutants. I think we must add also a word about them, Shubman Gill and Mohammad Siraj, the way they performed. But overarching contribution, of course, is Ajinkya Rahane's.
I'm Menra Dorji.
And I'm Ayaz Memon.
And you're listening to the Aussie Challenge podcast on the Quint, powered by Farm Easy and MediBuddy.
Okay, I'm going to come back to Ayaz with some more questions, but I'll quickly take you through the scores. There was about 3 hours of play today. Australia added 67 runs to their overnight score of 133 for 6 to set India a 70-run target to win the test, but not without some fight back. The tail, along with all-rounder Cameron Green, batted out the entire first session that ended with Josh Hazelwood's wicket off Ashwin. India lost Mayank and Pujara's wickets in the 5th and 6th overs to Stark and Cummins, but then it was Ajinkya Rahane and Shubman Gill who guided the team home. Ayaz, not much guessing would be involved to figure out who the top performer of the match would be.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no reason to go beyond one name. The top performer of the match has to be Ajinkya Rahane, as I mentioned as a captain. Look, I think Rahane has left an indelible mark on this match, because having lost the toss, you would have thought that India were on the back foot. And if Australia pile up a big score, then there's only one way this match would be headed, because the pitch would start deteriorating and there would be more trouble for batsmen, especially in the last innings. So to get into a situation and, with all the odds stacked against you, to get a command performance from the bowlers, bowl Australia out for 195, was all because of his tactical acumen, I thought, in the manner in which he brought on Ashwin so early into the attack. And, this is something now which has become very well known over the last 3 days or 4 days. And then to come in and bat. Remember, both these teams are bowling exceptionally well. Australia have put in a fantastic performance in the field, except in this match. They dropped many catches like India did in the first match, and they've had to pay a price. But India's bowling performance has also been fantastic in both matches. It's the batting which has been a struggle. This is the first century we've seen in this series. Ajinkya Rahane has got that 100. So it shows how difficult run making has been. And for somebody, Ajinkya Rahane to come in and play this kind of a knock with the pressure so high on India, a team that is not at full strength, I think it showed a lot of character of the man. He's not a rookie. He's been around for almost a decade. But all that has to come through and be effective at the right time. And that's what's happened in this match with Ajinkya Rahane, and why he's been able to, everybody's raving about him is because it's come at the right time. It's a great show of character by a batsman and a player who's been, as I mentioned earlier, a little below the radar. He's not a flashy personality, he's not a flashy batsman, but by God, he's a very effective player and captain and a batsman.
Okay, Rahane's captaincy, lots of talk about how he's shown a different way of leading, calm but aggressive in his plans. I know you're not a fan of Virat versus Rahane conversations, but it's also, maybe just time to celebrate that India has two such great leaders in their test team. And maybe even for Virat, who's watching obviously from home in Mumbai, he can also now possibly have more faith in the kind of decisions and inputs Rahane will have going forward?
Yes, look, certainly Virat Kohli would have been watching this match very closely and seeing what all Rahane has done and how things could be done differently, because there is no doubt that Rahane's approach was different. For instance, the manner in which the bowling changes were effected or the field placings were made. And there is nothing to suggest in this game, in my experience, that you know enough or you know everything. So there is always a learning curve. You have to, even if you are captain at the age of 38, you have something new to learn. And if you've been captain for 10 years, perhaps there's more to learn, because you might say that, I know everything. You can get a little complacent, and there's no scope for complacency. I think captaincy is something which in Rahane's case comes almost naturally to him, it seems. It's evident from the outside. And there's a reason for it. He's been a stalwart in Mumbai cricket, for West Zone cricket. He's captain in the IPL. He's had success as a captain. So it's not something that was foisted on him and he would be, out of place in it. The point is that you have to make the right decisions in a very difficult situation, which he has done. As I maintain, and I hold this very clearly in my mind, that captains are different captains are different, like the five fingers of a hand. You can't say there is a certain prototype of a captain and everybody must fit into that mold. That there's no die in which you put in raw material and the same captaincy virtues will emerge. So Rahane mentioned that at times it's about his instinct. Now his instincts were right, and that's what everybody is valuing now. Sometimes your instincts can go wrong. So different players have their different personalities, captains also, I think ultimately what matters is how much you can get out of your players, the best out of your players, and influence the course of a match, not just in one decision, because Test match captaincy involves a series of decisions, multiple decisions over a period of time. And how many you get right really determines how well you do. So, there are captains. Look, he's been captain for 2 or 3 matches, maybe the 2 matches or 3. This is the second Test match he's captain. How he'll fare in the next 20, 25 if he gets the opportunity, or 40, we don't know. But what he has shown, Rahane, that he's got the ability to get people to collaborate with him in working towards the final objective. There's no captain in the history of the game who's played 50 matches and won all 50. There will be defeats, there will be setbacks. It may not be your fault. It may be 2 dropped catches and your best tactics can go haywire. So these are all, that's what makes this game so fascinating. But what interests me, and what you mentioned, and I think that's really the crux and the highlight, that if you don't have your regular captain there, you have somebody else who can take up that mantle and do an equally good, if not a better job in the circumstances.
Yes, and he did almost a better job with the bowlers, who did extremely well, even without Umesh, who took that wicket of Joe Burns, and then, he's out injured. We really don't have an update on his injury as such, but Siraj picking up 5 wickets in the match on his debut. Ashwin looking extremely involved in the proceedings as well. So bowlers doing an extremely good job in this match.
Yes, I think India's bowling attack was very sharp. And listen, the point is that in Australia, everybody thought that, it's the fast bowlers who will do all the work. But in this match, at least, one must give credit. And even in the first match, I think Ashwin has been absolutely marvellous. He's taken it on himself. And he's probably at the peak of his prowess. He's taken it on himself to prove his detractors wrong, that he can't get wickets overseas. I thought Jadeja's spell, or multiple spells in the second innings, was masterly. He just bowled so well, and to cap it, which capped a wonderful test that he's had. He made a half century also. But the pick, has to be Jasprit Bumrah. And match after match, he's shown he's very unorthodox. The control he's got, he bowls Yorkers at will. The short pitch delivery is deadly. So he's the go-to man for any captain, whoever captains the team. Whenever there is you need a wicket or a breakthrough, you go to Bumrah, and he unfailingly delivers. And then, of course, there's young Mohammad Siraj, who a lot of people before this match, because they saw him in white ball cricket where he can get tonked around a bit, thought that he may not have been the best pick, but he showed a big heart, good control, and he's got a very impressive record with red ball in red ball cricket. So that came to the fore, and I thought he was actually handled superbly by Rahane. On the first morning, there was a lot of criticism that he wasn't brought on in the first session at all. But that is because he was trying another tactic, which is using Ashwin and Jadeja's spin early on to get, to trouble batsmen like Wade and Smith. And that paid dividends. Then he got on Siraj. And the way he used Siraj, going up to him every time and talking to him. I mean, this is a sign of proactive captaincy, which can be very rewarding. And that's where Siraj also, I think he has a lot to thank his captain for this wonderful debut.
Time to celebrate, of course, with India winning that match by 8 wickets. But there's a bit of a concern in the batting order. Pujara's top score so far has been 43 with a duck as well. Mayank's top score is 17. Also, he's also gotten out on a duck once. Both batsmen, of course, did exceedingly well on the previous tour of Australia. So that's something that India might want to look into before 7th Jan rolls in for the third test.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a dilemma for the Indian, think tank on tour, which would be Shastri and Ajinkya Rahane, I would imagine, the chief coach and the captain. Now, I think it's almost certain that Rohit Sharma will play, going by what Ajinkya Rahane said on TV post the match, that he's spoken to Rohit and he's very eager to come into the squad. And I think there's a vacancy created sort of with the failures of Mayank Agarwal in both matches and Hanuma Vihari. Now the issue is who does Rohit replace? If he replaces Mayank, then he uses the opener slot. And if he replaces Vihari, does Mayank bat lower down in the order, or does Rohit Sharma come lower down in the order? So that's going to be a tough call. I think that the match has ended prematurely on the 4th day. They've got an extra day and a half. And I think that's what Shastri and Rahane will be doing, spending this extra time trying to sort out in their own minds that, yes, Rohit must come in, but who goes out? It's not an easy call. I can't make it.
Okay. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ayaz. We'll, of course, be back with Ayaz on the 7th of January in the new year after day 1 of that test. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ayaz.
Thanks, Mindra. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And thank you all for listening to the Aussie Challenge podcast with Ayaz Memon on the Quint, powered by Farm Easy, India's largest online pharmacy, and MediBuddy.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.